Like everybody else, I'm trying to understand the boundaries of using a large language model's Copilot, those kinds of things. And so I wanted to pick a topic that I could get an objective measurement, right? And so that I could know whether it works for what I was trying to do. And I want the LLM to generate the entire scaffolding for something. And so in this case, I decided to build a Flutter application with a single LLM prompt, no additional vibing or whatever it's called, right? And so in a lot of ways, this is just sort of a real ridiculous notion, but it was kind of interesting. What I got out of it was I might get something started and then I'll have to go and do a bunch of iterations, but still it's kind of interesting. So I wanted to compare, I wanted an objective measurement, right? And the objective measurement is, does this program run? And so we could do code quality evaluation later, right? So I want to build a program with a single prompt, see kind of what it looks like, compare the models a little bit, see what their approaches look like. And so the whole goal here is just to get something that compiles and run. And I want to do this in Flutter because that's what I'm working with right now. And no, I am not vibe coding. I'm not going to iterate on this and claim that like I'm super cool because I don't know anything about coding and I built some app, because everywhere I've worked, that would be a horrible idea. And then I'm going to look at the model accuracy, evaluating. I want to evaluate the model accuracy for this particular use case. And we're going to do that by looking at whether this code actually runs or not. I'm not going to look at the code in this video because it'll take too long. And I wanted to compare local LLMs versus Copilot LLMs. So I have 24 gig video card in my PC, and I've got a 64 gig Mac. And so I tried this on both machines, and the Mac, of course, I can do bigger models. And it didn't have that much a better impact because I don't think they're big enough. So the goal was to get a feel for what the model size impact was, and it does make a big difference, but it didn't get me over the line in most cases. And then I wanted to look at the implications of adding more requirements. So if we look at this, this is one of the versions of the app that was actually created. This is phase 10, the game, card game. And what I wanted to do is have 8 players, and we could score up to 12 rounds. And basically we have a field that lets us give the round score, and we can see, if you ever played phase 10, there's 10 phases. You can determine which phase you completed in a given round, right? And so in some phases you don't complete any, some rounds you don't complete any phases. And then I wanted a light dark switch, and some of these actually didn't work right. This particular one I just picked at random out of my collection worked pretty well for the light dark. And you can see that I wanted to be able to hold, this was a requirement that we hold the player's name and the total score while we scroll around. Okay, so that is that. So I did this in this repository. So we have this repository, Freemansoft Phase 10, and really I'm going to build the real app here, but I wanted to do the exploration in this repo. And if you look at it, I did a couple things. We tried using Copilot, and then I tried it. This other was really local OLLAMA with continue.dev, and there were a whole bunch of models. And so I had, oh, there's a typo. I did the first attempt. And so one of the problems is replicating this. You actually need to have a separate workspace when you're doing this, because otherwise all the work you've done up to this point taints what the Copilot or what the model says if you can't get the context limited. So I did a first attempt, just the basic problem for Copilot, and then I added the light dark switch and CSI if that worked. And then I added RiverPod with a light dark switch because I actually wanted there to be state management. And then I said in the fourth one, I actually wanted there to be a model for keeping the score, and I wanted to give hints about how that model worked. And then I only did light dark and RiverPod light dark with Llama, really, and 9 different models. Why? Because none of them worked. The net of this was the Copilot models are so much larger and significantly provisioned better that I got better response time and almost all but one of the Copilot chats generated code that would compile, not that worked correctly. There were a lot of display problems, but none of the local dev gave me an answer to this from a 0 to running app with a single prompt, right? So if we look at in the phase 10 LLM Explorer libcopilot, the results are in here, and I'll show you in a minute. And then over on the local side, Ollama, there were 2 attempts at each of the models. So just to give you a feel of how this looks, if we look here at the local llama, oh, I'm sorry, not local llama, the local models, you can see these are in red. What that means is you know what, real quick. So this is what the prompt looked like in chat, and continue. And in the READMEs are the actual prompt I used. So this is what I did, and the only scope I gave it, oh, here you can see we did code base, but when I actually did this, I set it to, you can change the scope of these things. So I had a separate workspace where I did this, so there was isolation. Now it turns out the pubspec.yaml actually changes the output. So as I added things to the pubspec, as we move through this evaluation process, I couldn't actually rerun the originals again. So in this case, you can see here with RiverPod and with Light Dark with the local LLM, none of them actually compiled. They're all red. And if you look at them, there's like red everywhere. Okay. And then if we look at the Copilot ones, this is Light and Dark, RiverPod Light and Dark. You can see only one of the models didn't compile, right? And one of the models has warnings. And there were a couple cases here. So I said create a Flutter main.dart. There are a couple of these that will actually give you the project structure. And then I had to type in update main.dart. And so all of these are basically a single file solution to this, right? And so, but the main thing to point out here, right, is that the Copilot ones, all but one, so I did like, how many runs of this, right? Light, dark with a model. All of these compiled, but some of them had display issues because they didn't know how to do the layout. And so over time, I decided to try and use different table views and use RiverPod and use a couple other things. There's also one prompt in here where I tried to get it to add uploading the scores every time there was a change to Google Sheets. I never really got any of those working, so we're going to ignore that for the purpose of this. So again, what I'm saying here is I was able to take the prompt on the right here, and I fed it to these four models that are available in Copilot, right? Microsoft Copilot. And then I also tried to use this. How many is this? This is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, like 14 different models locally of different size. And I actually went all the way up to 30 billion parameters. Let's see, RiverPod Light Dark. And 14 billion. I thought I had 13. You know what? 15 billion. I thought I had a 30 billion in here. I'll have to look and see what happened. I thought I did that on my Mac. Okay, so that's it though. That's what I wanted to say. If you want to, you can look at this repository and get an idea kind of what these prompts look like. Like I said, there's a prompt in every one of these. So this is the prompt. And if I change the prompt a little bit as I worked around, that's where we ended up. So it's kind of cool. It might be an okay place to start, but because I did get something running here, but a bunch of these look really bad, or they just, they couldn't figure out how to, I actually, like I said, the request was to make this thing to scroll and make these editable and make this sum and support light and dark. And so look at the repo and tell me what you think.